Hello, YouTube. Pastor Jack here, and welcome to my study. Welcome to my channel. First things first with Pastor Jack. The day of recording this is January 1st of 2024. So happy New Year to you. If you're watching this a few years from now, then you just know that was the day this was recorded on. And it's the day it's going to play on, I believe. So we're in the middle of a Bible study that we're going to delay for a few days, and we are in the middle of studying Paul's letter to Romans. And the reason we're going to finish or delay it a few days is that I am to the point now to where I want to start going through the truth statements that we have found in our study of the book of Romans. And I am working on those, and it's been Christmas and New Year's here during the time I'm working on it, and I've also had a bad cold. And so I'm going to give myself a couple days. And so we're going to start something new today, and then we will come back and finish out that study of Romans. We've actually covered the information that I wanted to cover. I just want to go back and do some work on some truth statements and talk about truth statements with you, and how we should use them to live our life by. This channel is First Things First, and we believe if we seek out the kingdom of heaven, that all the other things will be added to us. And we believe that in order to really seek out the kingdom of heaven, you have to be a doer of the word. And truth statements is a method that you can use in your everyday walk to help you live by the word of God more and more. And so we don't want to do that quickly. We want to do it with some forethought. And so we're going to put it off for a little while, and we're going to come back to that. But today we're going to start a study that's probably going to take a little while also, that I call facts about versions of the Bible that you need to know. Facts about versions of the Bible that you need to know. In our world today, in the English-speaking world, there are many, many versions of the Bible. And there's some facts about that you just need to understand. And I believe if you can understand these facts, then you will no longer be confused by Bible versions. Let's understand that the original text for the Old Testament was Hebrew. The original language that was spoken during the New Testament was Aramaic. And the language that was the written language at the time was Greek. And so as Jesus lived, he most likely spoke Aramaic most of the time. Some people that lived in Israel were starting to speak Greek. Greek was a accepted language for written language for the Roman Empire. And during the time that Jesus was alive then, the Roman Empire was in charge, and most Jews spoke Greek. All of the documents that we have, and some of them date back into the first century, copies of the books of the Bible, the New Testament books, are all written in Greek. So we're pretty sure Jesus spoke Aramaic, but the Bible was probably written in Greek. And so a version is what we call a Bible that's been translated from one language to another. So every English language Bible is a version. Are they all equal? Well, probably not. Many discoveries in the last 200 years of Bibles, of books of the Bible that are older than the books that maybe were used in 1611 when the King James Version was first developed. So we have older documents now that are closer to the time of Jesus speaking the words that we're looking at. And so we probably have more reliability in it. There have been many other books discovered in the last 400 years since the King James was written. that are not biblical books, but we get to read the language and we find things like phrases, and we can find what the meanings of the words were to the first readers a whole lot more. So they're all probably not equal, but all of them come the same way. They all had some translators. In most cases, it was teams and committees sat down, look at the Hebrew when they're looking at the Old Testament, and interpret that into English for a set of people. And then they sat down and looked at the oldest Greek manuscripts that they had, and they translated that into English for a certain set of people. King James' committee that he established in 1611 that made the King James Version, they were putting it in English for people of 1611. People who have done some of the more modern translations were putting it in English for people of today. That process still has to happen. And the detail of that process is very, very difficult, how to make it happen. And I want to shed some light on that for you so you can understand that. It's not as easy as sitting down and saying, okay, this is what this means in English in most cases. And what causes the issues, Pastor? What makes it, what causes it to be a problem? Well, words change. Things that in my lifetime, the English language has changed. When I was a kid, gay meant you were happy. Of course, today it doesn't mean that at all. And words have changed, about what cool means. It used to mean that it wasn't hot. People, you're cool, but then in the 50s and 60s, it became something completely different, and it's still considered things like that today. So the fact that the language changed, if something that was written for 1611 could mean completely different things today. And they, there's some great channels on YouTube of linguistic people who study languages, and they make some very good points about words that's in the King James Version that we think we know what it means, but we probably don't really know what it means. So it's a difficult task. Another thing, you're looking at this Greek word, and now there's 30 English words that Greek word could mean. So you have to take it in context, and you have to try to come up with the best possible word you can based on the context of the Greek. And all those things are very, very difficult to do. And so one thing, let me say this, and then we'll get on to my versions that I read, and then we'll close this video out and we'll take it up again tomorrow. But I probably own every English version of the Bible there is. If I find out there's another one that I don't own, I go buy it. Some people collect. I had a deacon laugh at me one time because I have so many Bibles, and he collected these little cars, and he had a whole room full of them. And I said, "You laugh at me for collecting Bibles? At least Bibles are better than these little Matchbox car things." I love the Bibles. Don't ever let someone tell you that you should only use one version. Don't ever let anybody tell you that. Matter of fact, mark that person. You probably don't want to pay a lot of attention to them, because if they say there's only one version that you can use, then that shows me that they are uneducated. They didn't educate themselves before they opened their mouth. And I wonder what else they're not educating themselves on about the Bible, that you're listening to them preach or teach, and they didn't educate themselves on it, and they're telling you something wrong. So, a clear statement. There are some versions of the Bible that I wouldn't use to study the Bible with. There's some that I consider, commentaries, and because they're not They're not the Bible. They're what this man, and usually one person writes those, and it's what he thought the Bible meant, and he called it a Bible. It was really a commentary, and I don't use commentaries. Very seldom do I ever even look at a commentary. So there's some versions I don't read, but there's many great versions out there. I basically look at 4 versions every day. I'll give you a quick on those, and then we'll close this part out, and we will take back up with this tomorrow. And I'm going to show you why you need to look at more than one version. It's pretty evident. But I mainly read the ESV, the English Standard Version. That's pretty much my go-to version. On my study table behind me, there's a ESV version laying on it. There's a King James version laying on it. I read it every day. I grew up on it. I understand it well. I do understand there's words there that mean something right now that it didn't mean that in 1611. So you need to study. You need to educate yourself. But I use King James every day. The New American Standard Bible, I read it every day. It is probably becoming one of my favorites, and I read it all the time. And those 3 Bibles are laying on the table behind me right now, and I look at them every day. And I highly recommend them to anybody that wants to study the Bible. Probably coming close to my favorite is a Bible called the Net. It's the New English Translation. I don't have it laying on my study table back there because I only have electronic versions of it because it was cheaper. And I still try to save money when I can, but it's on my screen to my right now, and it's called the New English Translation. And why I love it so is when the committee of the 20 men got together and they translated this, and it was translated back in 2001. They included their translation notes. There's over 60,000 translation notes in this Bible. So when you read a section of Scripture, and I'm just looking, I'm at Romans 1:1 here, and there's 3 translation notes in the first verse of Paul. And so when they come to a question on should we use this word or that word or this word or what word, they chose a word and used it, and then they made a note saying we thought about using this word or we thought about using that word, and here's why we didn't use this word or here's why we didn't use that word. I love that. It opens up the difficulty of translating the Bible to us, and we get to see it from the inside. You know, how did they pick the word they used? Maybe they arm wrestled. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Probably most of the cases, when I read them, very few cases is, oh man, they're 100% right. They had to use that word. Most of the time, they could have used any of them and it would have probably been okay, probably been fine. But it shows you what they went through to make this translation, and I highly suggest it to everybody watching this video right now. Get you a Net Bible, New English Translation. They have a website. You can go on there and get it, and I think, at least when I got mine, and this was like 2001, it was free. I don't know if it's still free today. I looked one up on Amazon and it was over $119 to get one leather bound. That's why I don't have one out on my table yet behind me. But there will be one back there eventually. And it's a really thick Bible because it has all these notes in it about the translation. So, but if you really want to understand how the translators go through it and why we should never, even though, what they might have come up with was a commentary instead of a Bible, we should never look down our nose at them because there's a lot of work goes into it, and it's a big effort. I see my time's coming on. Sorry this one run long. God bless you. Keep the first things first, and we'll take this topic back up again tomorrow.